This is the Big Jim Show.
Hello everyone, welcome back to a bonus episode of the show. On this episode I'll be answering some, not all, of the fans' questions that have come in. A big thank you to everyone who sent them through on social media. And of course I appreciate all of you, as you know. Before we get started, can I ask though, if you haven't already and you're watching or listening to the show, please can you subscribe on the channels, YouTube, all the podcast channels, the main one, which is Spotify. You can interact now on Spotify with a video and message. But if you already have, thank you for supporting the show. Right, let's get into it. Russell Wardale. How many guns have you seen? Do you think Americans love guns as they can't drink or fight? I've got to be careful because the producer in here is American. I don't know if he's Texan. But it's a question that's being asked because for reference and for people that don't know, I'm in America. Specifically, I'm in Texas. Specifically, I'm in Austin. And I did a bit of research on guns before I brought the family, before I did a trip over myself, because it is quite intimidating. We don't have guns in the UK. We have knives, which is another discussion and a big debate in the UK. But how many guns have I seen? I haven't seen any. I've genuinely not seen any. I've not felt unsafe. I've not had road rage purposely and intentionally because I don't want to start a fight with anyone here. And do you think Americans love guns as they can't drink or fight? I do think they love guns. I think that's part of being an American. Do I believe in it? No. But I've not been brought up in America. I don't know how it works, and I'm here to keep out of trouble. And I'm not getting in amongst the politics and the way of life of the Second Amendment. Is that what they call it? The Second Amendment. I don't even know what it is properly, but I know that it exists. So, right of free speech and to carry a weapon. But I did Google to see what states didn't have guns in America, and there are none. There's just different laws and regulations about that. So Russell Wardale, we thought we'd start with the headline question because I'm in Austin, Texas. Joe McLaren, that's what it is. So Joe, do I recommend America or not? So anyone who listens to the show, anyone who knows me, knows that I love America. I go to Colorado most summers now. I love the great outdoors. I think it's a brilliant country. Like I said, I'm in Austin, Texas now. Got mates who live here, speak highly of it, and it's everything that you'd hoped it'd be. In Austin, it's safe, it's great for the kids, it's a little bit hippie, a bit bushy, music, comedy, but I like New York as well. I go to New York a lot. I'm lucky enough to travel, especially with the World Cup in 2031. I've done a few excursions. I was in Philadelphia in January interviewing Jordan Mailata from the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm a big fan of the UFC. I've met a few people from the UFC over here. I keep out of the weeds of politics and any dramas. It's none of my business. I don't even think about it. I don't see it. I don't hear it when I'm here. But I would recommend America. Massive country. I'm a big man, so big houses, big cars, big food. It's not necessarily the land of the giants, but you have the feeling of space and opportunity as well. I know people speak about that. And we are considering it as a family of the world that I'm in, creative, specifically podcasts. I'm into music and comedy and sports and all of these things. And I don't know, maybe I'm not looking for something different or better for my life. My life's great. I live in Scotland. I live in Edinburgh. Apart from the weather, actually, that is the main thing, to be fair. I know that the weather in parts of America would be shocking. Philadelphia was -10 in January, and there was a cold snap coming through, which was pretty brutal. But Edinburgh, the wind, the rain of Scotland, it has many qualities, the weather not being one of them. So would I recommend America or not? 100%, absolutely. Getting into America is quite tough, though. When you get through passport control, they're not the most friendly. They don't really want you here, which I can understand. Ferg DH84, where do you buy your jeans from? I get a lot of stick about my clothes. Skinny jeans are too short, trousers are too short. So I have a tailor now in Edinburgh, Andrew Brooks, big shout out to him, who does my cords and making them a bit flary, a bit cool and hipster. That's what I like to say. But actually, I found recently, while the kids and the wife were shopping to come on holiday, we went to Levi's, that Levi's now do a baggier fit. I don't know what they're called, Levi's 586 maybe. I know 501s are the original OGs. But I get a lot of comments about my clothes I'm comfortable. I feel as if I'm as fashionable as a 6'9" podcaster could be. I'm trying my best. But Ferg, 84, Levi's do a 38-34, which probably doesn't sound like it should fit me. Actually, they're a 36-34, but they're baggy, which is in now. Flares are back in. 70s flares are back in, and I foresaw that 5 years ago. So big shout out to Levi's and Andrew Brooks. Michael, 804, best vacation or holiday you've been on? Well, I've been very lucky that I mix business with pleasure. This holiday now is pleasure, as pleasurable as it can be, looking after 4 young children and my wife who looks after me, so it's actually going to be more difficult for her. Mentioned the US, I'm a big fan of Colorado, love going to the mountains, the outdoors, cycling, walking. I was going to say running there. We'll get on to a little bit of fitness and running a little bit later with some of the questions that have come in. Japan. Never thought in a million years Japan would be a place that I enjoy. But I went there, I did a few interviews with some of the South African and All Blacks lads who were playing out in Japan this time last year actually, and it was absolutely fantastic. The language was impossible, the culture was like being on a different planet, so everything says that it shouldn't be a good place if you are someone that likes a little bit of ease. I do like culture, but I like an easy life. I like being able to go and order food. I like being able to ask, how do you get from A to B? And Japan, I couldn't do any of it. And I would say out of all the places that I've been, it was the cleanest, the most friendliest, the safest, the coolest, the coffee culture, the whiskey culture, the music. Very, very different. But I would recommend, if you're looking for recommendations, Michael 804, I'd look as far as somewhere like Japan. But yeah, I've been lucky enough to go to some great places. My partner in crime that I do the rugby pod with lives in Dubai. He doesn't live in Dubai, but his holidays, he always goes to Dubai. Whereas us as a family, with holidays and vacations, as difficult as it can be with 4 children, we go out there looking for different experiences. And I've mentioned America. We like Spain as well. We were keen on looking at somewhere like Seville, but I'm all in on Austin, Texas at the minute, hence why we're here. So if I was to give you one, Japan, Tokyo specifically, Osaka as well. Burgess 14, when's the next episode of Talking Pish? Actually, there's 3 questions here from Burgess 14. How's Texas? Great. And dream guest on the podcast. So as we work through the Big Jim Show, and I said at the beginning of the show, I appreciate everyone that is following, listening, interacting, commenting. The show's for you. Of course, it's for me, and to interview cool guests and work my way through it. But a lot of people have come on this journey from the Rugby Pod over to the Big Jim Show as I work through what the narrative of the show is, how it looks, and I think about it all day, every day. And I'm bringing on a full-time producer, which is crazy to think, after 2.5 years of the Big Jim Show going, that I've never had a producer properly. And I'm bringing one on, and we're shaping with Spotify what the show's going to be. So the next episode of Talking Pish, I'm unsure whether I'm going to do that with Ryan Wilson. The feedback was good. The one with Max Laheath was great as well. I enjoyed doing it with that, and I do feel sometimes that I need a dance partner or a partner in crime. But I'm going to double down on why I started the show, which was to push myself creatively. And I love and enjoy podcasts. Like I listen and look at podcasts all over the world, different people doing them in different genres, different backgrounds, cultural touch points in music and fashion and lifestyle and different sports and food and travel. And I really want to narrow my focus on what the show is. So Talking Pish, we can do that with some mates. We're going to have a few episodes down the pipe. I've got another one with Max Laheath lined up where we've got a guy who got captured by pirates, who likes pirates. Come on, and we're going to do a cool show with him, and that'll be a bit of Talking Pish as well. But dream guest, you get asked this all the time. And being in Austin, Texas, and the land of one of the great creatives and voices in the world right now, in Matthew McConaughey, I've listened to loads of shows with him on. I've read his book. I've listened to his book, Green Lights, and he just seems like a cool dude. I think everything in the world right now around masculinity and positive masculinity and toxic masculinity, as a 42-year-old man, father of 4, I look at someone like Matthew McConaughey as complete positivity in the way in which he conducts his life, his business, the way that he delivers conversation and speeches, his book, his movies, how he's opened himself up. I know he's been on a few shows. He was on Chris Williamson's show, who I'm a big fan of as well. He's in Austin, Texas. I think he did a Joe Rogan one as well during COVID. But very rarely see him on podcasts. I'm a long way away from being able to level with someone like him creatively, but he's just a cool dude. I think looks great. Dallas Buyers Club is one of my favourite movies. He would be a dream guest for sure. Jimmy McIntosh, number 9. Harley Davidson or Indian? Well, there's an Indian bike factory in Austin that I'm going to go and check out, but I've always been Harley Davidson. There's had a bit of pushback on Harley Davidson. They're closing loads of the stores in Edinburgh. They're not selling bikes. And I actually sold my bike, and I'll get onto that as well, but because someone's asked me about how many motorbikes I own. But I'm Harley Davidson till I die. I love the brand. I love the history, the heritage. I know there's been a bit of a backlash in the US around their marketing and some of the stuff that they're doing. Sean Strickland, UFC fighter, went hard, and I actually know the CEO, South African, John Seeds. I can't even say his name. I say I know him. We chat on social media, but we've got a few mutual friends and philanthropy that he does in the safari and the animal space in South Africa. So we've got a few mutual connections, me and the CEO of Harley Davidson, I can't even say. Jotchin Zotchin. I think that's the CEO's name of Harley. But I'm a big fan of the brand. Jason Momoa does a load of stuff with Harley Davidson as well and makes anything look cool. So Harley Davidson's already cool. He's making it look unbelievably cool. And if the weather was better in Edinburgh, I wouldn't have sold my bike. And that brings me on to Andy Rob 007. How many motorbikes do you own now? None. I got rid of it. I was a coffee shop rider in Edinburgh, in Scotland. The roads were absolutely shocking. The potholes, the weather, the way that the roadworks were, it just didn't feel safe to drive the bike on the road there. So the plan is, when the kids get a little bit older, that I'll go off and do a few bike trips across Europe, America as well with a sidecar. If the wife Rebecca wants to join me, I don't know if she will. I'll just get a dog because it will look cool as fuck in the bike next to me. So in answer to the question, Jimmy McIntosh, Harley Davidson 100%, and Andy Rob 007, no motorbikes at the minute, but I might buy one for the summer in Edinburgh when I'm back. David Cochrane 93, what's your favourite hobby outside of rugby? Really interesting, get asked that a lot. What do you do outside of rugby? What are your hobbies? And I was beating myself up a little bit about not having a hobby or having something different. I've tried golf, hate it. Strong word, hate. Just can't get into golf at all. And a lot of my mates get invited to some unbelievable golf courses, and I just can't get into it at all. Live in Scotland, been invited to St Andrews. My mates play at Archerfield, played on Liberty Golf Course in New York. I drove the golf buggy around with a few mates, and I get it. I can understand how it's addictive, but I think I'm looking for a hobby, for something that I'm good at. So in that, David, I like training, which is a bit boring, but I'm interested in that space, weightlifting, strongman, fitness. Not that I'm great at any of them things, but I'd say that that's a hobby. That's something that I do every day. It's something that I enjoy. I enjoy driving as well, which is, my wife finds a little bit weird. Where are you going, Jim? I'm going for a drive. So I'm into cars. Again, not a great place when it's pishing it doing all the time in Scotland to be driving around, but I suppose that is a hobby. Reading, I'd love to read, but I don't. Is that a hobby? Listen to podcasts? Business, pleasure? Yeah. So David, I've not worked out what the hobby is yet. If you've got any inspiration or ideas, send them my way. I started doing a jigsaw at home, which is a bit sad, but one of the twins, my lad Max, had a jigsaw for Christmas, 1,000 pieces. He couldn't do it, so I've started trying to do it, and I'm struggling to do it. HVAC_Maverick. Hivac Maverick. Have you ever been to a rodeo live? Well, they had some rodeos in Texas last week, or last month even, end of March, so yeah, last week, that I missed. But when we go to Colorado, every year we go to a brilliant rodeo called Carbondale, which is a proper, authentic, genuine, real, back of trucks, dusty, American anthem, and locals riding. Wild, actually. As a kid, I think their rite of passage in Colorado or Carbondale or these cowboy towns is you have to be strapped to a sheep, and the sheep gets let off, and if you stay on the longest, then you're going to be a cowboy or girl. So the twins wanted to do that. We're saying that rugby's unsafe. They're just strapping kids to animals and letting them sprint round, which was pretty wild. Faux favourite beer, says a lot about a bloke. Enjoy Texas, cowboy. Well, thank you, Faux. I should say Wolfpack Lager because I'm a shareholder in the business, but it never was. It might be now. We've changed the brewer and the brewery of Wolfpack Lager, and I'm enjoying it more. It has more of a crisp with the Pilsner, but I'm quite a simple man. I like a sharp, crisp Pilsner. There's a Texas Lager at the minute. I'm not sure what it's called. Texas Lone or Lone Texas, maybe. I've had a few of them when I'm here, but I'm a whiskey man. I never was, but when I was trying to drink less fluid, but I wanted a little bit of alcohol, I thought whiskey. So smoky, old-fashioned, the drink of choice. But being in Austin, Texas, tequila as well, I'm not a big drinker. So I'm sat here saying like I've had loads to drink. I've had, in a week, 4 cans of Pilsner, a whiskey and a tequila. So all of them. I don't know what that says about me. Alex Blair, also known as Mike Blair's brother, who I played for Scotland with, the great Mike Blair, scrum half, British and Irish Lions. Sorry, Alex, I know you're a estate agent in Edinburgh. Will you ever come back to play touch rugby? No, I won't. I ain't doing it. Ow. The back was blown out. It ain't a hobby, and I'm not built to keep picking the ball. I was too good. I was just too good. I get it, though. I get it. You know, bringing back that nostalgia of used to be. Alex Blair, you could have made it, brother. Robert Oven Flip. Oh, do we complain too much as a society these days and don't just get on with it? Yeah, I think we do. I find myself going down that rabbit hole. I think COVID wrecked it for us. I think it made us more moany and complain. I didn't see much positive come out of that, so I think that shifted people's mindsets to complain a lot about government, about politics, about money, about opportunity. And then, as we know now, the news and social media just feeds us with negativity around immigration, around human rights, around being taxed too much money, about whatever it may be, cost of living. So I've hit you with a few big problems that people can complain about, but it's not just me. I try not to complain. I intentionally try not to. I am what's known as a sapagizer. So I sap the energy, but I energize as well. I was known as a rugby player as the guy that would take people out for a sappuccino. You can talk to me, we'll moan about it together, but then I will pick you up. So try not to complain. Life's good, life's great, and time goes so fast. So that's how I look at it with these things, and there's a lot to complain about, there really is, but I do genuinely, when you look at it from the outside, if you can get your life into a position that is more simple, i.e. take away the phones, come off social media less, don't let your kids on the phones as much, then I think there's less to complain about. All you'll see is your inner circle, which if it's good, you shouldn't complain. Your family, your friends, people that influence you, people that inspire you, and therefore you shouldn't be complaining. But it's human instinct to complain. I am, at heart, deep-rooted a complainer, but not anymore. Breathe. I don't do that. Maybe I should. Benjamin William Pierce. Honest thoughts on Trump. Oh, goodness me. You know what? Actually, a few people have started messaging me, like negative stuff, because one, I bought a Tesla, right? Okay, and I had to because I put it through the business and it was the most tax-efficient, cost-effective way of buying a car now that I'm self-employed, full-time doing my podcast. So I got a Tesla. There weren't much other choice. Tesla, Elon Musk, and then onto the Donald Trump thing. And there was a few memes going on around Donald Trump, and I put them up on social media because they were funny. But Benjamin William Pierce has asked my honest thoughts on Donald Trump. I actually don't know. I mean, the guy is hilarious from what I've seen, but I don't live in America, so I don't know how people see him here. But he got voted in as the President of the United States, which from the outside looking in from the UK seemed absolutely crazy to have someone like Donald Trump run the most powerful country in the world. There's all this stuff with tariffs that's blown up the stock markets. Again, don't know anything about it, but my honest thoughts on him, I'm not a fan. Like, if you were to ask me if I want that guy as my dad, as a role model, I would say absolutely not. Can I see the draw to him? Yeah, he's charismatic. He's making big changes. But I think what we've seen with Trump, and this is just my opinion, is that the world went so crazy that they're looking to try and find a way of bringing things back. And if you've got someone as crazy as him on the right and you've got other people that are crazy on the left, they've chosen one way. And the free world and this country of the United States of America have chosen to put him in power. There's loads of stuff politically that's going on in the UK with Keir Starmer, who isn't a fan of Donald Trump, and all the kind of political fallout. Again, I am not at all academic, smart enough, or know enough about politics and know enough about America to pass any more judgment on my basic feel towards other human beings. I think he's hilarious, but he doesn't affect my life. He's not running my country. He's not doing anything that affects me. So you can find someone funny. Would you want someone like that running the free world? Absolutely not. But he is. So I actually met him once, years ago. Me and Tom Evans, we were at a dress to kilt thing in New York, and I met him and Sean Connery, and I'm sure he nodded at me, and that was about it, maybe because I was big and I was wearing a kilt and looked smart as fuck. Paul Jones, _Paul_Jones. Fitness goals for the next 3, 6, 12 months, and do you follow a program on the Wattbike? I don't follow a program on the Wattbike. I do 20 minutes. Well, maybe I do follow a program. I do a 20-minute sprint test or a 30-minute sprint test. It's not even a test. But the Wattbike gives me such good feedback because I'm good at it. And I have this conversation with a lot of mates who struggle on the Wattbike. I chat to Eben Etzebeth and Will Skelton, two brilliant athletes in rugby, and they're great on the Wattbike because they're second rows, they're heavy, they've got big hearts. But I was always like very good on the Wattbike. World class, the fitness coaches used to say. So I enjoy going on the Wattbike, not because I enjoy the feeling of it, I enjoy the feeling after, but because I'm good at it, I get good feedback. So I'll try and do 5 sessions a week on the Wattbike, either a 20-minute sprint if I'm feeling not great, 30-minute if I'm feeling good, and then I'll do like the odd session, maybe 4 or 5 times a month. I'll do a 1K on with a minute and a half off, and I'll try and get my 1Ks under 110. So for reference, I think Eben Etzebeth is doing about 105 per 1 kilometre, and then he has a minute and a half off and does 6 of them. I'm averaging about 109, 110. So I'm a long way off him, but I'm still very good on that. And I'll do that about 4 or 5 times, and that's a lactate killer. I always remember on the Wattbike, actually, when we did it at Gloucester, we did a test where it was 6 45 seconds on, 4 minutes off. So you 45 seconds, you pound it as hard as you want. So Paulie, if you want to try this one, you pound the Wattbike 45 seconds as hard as you can go, and then you have 4 minutes off, and you do it 6 times. Out of the 10 lads that did it, 2 of them finished. I wasn't one of them. But yeah, so the Wattbike is savage. I love it, and I don't follow a program on it, but it's very simple to get decent feedback on their 20, 30-minute sessions. It's not like you do on the Peloton, which I enjoy going on when I'm travelling. I've got it in the garage, and it's probably my most used piece of kit. That, my shoes and my mattress. So the Wattbike, my shoes and my mattress. But my fitness goals for the next 3, 6, 12 months, I want to get stronger. So I've actually invested in a few really heavy dumbbells. I was doing a session at the Gold's Gym today, 150 kg dumbbell, like just walking around, picking the dumbbell up. I think that's 150 kgs, 150 pounds, which is about 75 kgs. But picking the dumbbell up, moving it around, just trying to be strong. So like more functional, strongman exercises. So had Luke and Tom Stoltman, strongest man in the world, on the show last year. I look at a lot of stuff that they're doing. I obviously and naturally can't do any of that now because the body's buggered from rugby, but chatting to Max Laheath and looking at a few of the things that people are doing, I think weight training could be a hobby of mine going forward, because I feel as if I'm making gains in that. I'm doing more squats, I'm doing heavier deadlift, and I need to start moving off centre more. So the fitness goals for the next 3, 6, 12 months is, I did it when I was here, was running, which I know isn't a great exercise, but I do feel that any human being should be able to run a 5K under 25 minutes. I've used to be able to do that a couple of years ago. During COVID, I ran 2 or 3 times a week. I ran while I was here, and it was on a hill. It was a bent mountain run, and it took me 37 minutes. And people are laughing their heads off when I post it on social media, but I should have specifically said it was a mountain run. It wasn't flat, and it was extremely difficult. So I'm going to try and get my 5K time under 25 minutes in the next 3 months, which I'll be able to do. And then 6 to 12 months, I'm not too sure. Like my wife's a high rocks athlete, whatever that means, but she travels around Europe doing high rocks events, and she's really good, and we've done a bit of training together, but it's just that constant repetitive movement of like down and ups, or like squatting and pressing, my back just blows out. So maybe I need to get the back sorted. So Paul Jones, the fitness goals is to get the back sorted, run a 5K under 25 minutes, and be as strong as the Stoltman boys. Ali 466, there's loads of fitness and supplement ones, so I'm going to answer a few of them. What supplement vitamins do you take? Not enough. So I will take Simpru in the morning. The wife takes that. It's good for gut health. I mean, no idea. You're meant to have a shot. I have like 3 shots of it in the morning. I then fast. After that, train, and then I'll eat, and then creatine. So when I'm training, I'll have creatine and maybe a little bit of whey protein in the shaker. And I kind of flip in and out of vitamins. I know I need to take more. I've had loads of blood tests done to look at vitamins and hormone levels and all of these, but they've all come back okay. So, yeah, I'd love to on the show as well. Get an Andrew Huberman. I know he's big into that, and he talks a load about it. I listen to a lot of his shows. Very important. Everyone's getting into this human optimization and fitness and nutrition and all of these things. So I know that supplementation, especially as an aging man, a 42-year-old ex-athlete whose body's not great but trains every day, and I travel loads, is something that I really need to revisit. I'm actually considering a nutritionist as well. So anyone, any ideas on nutritionalists? Chatting to Max Laheath. There's an England nutritionist that does, I think, a bit on the side. I can't remember his name. But keen to get in contact with him and see how does a 121 kg carcass take supplements. What does he need? How many vitamins do I take? You know, I've had B12 jabs and IV drips that haven't really made a difference, but I swear by creatine for the old brain fog and all the studies that are done around it, and it seems pretty bulletproof to me. So that, AG1 now and again as well. Big shout out to AG1. They sponsored the show a few times. Read good stuff, bad stuff on that, but I mean, you know, tastes good, and when I've got it, I'll take a little bit of AG1 as well. Broom Ed, typical week's training look like. Loads of training and fitness ones. I'm a fitness guru. If I wasn't on the road, which I have been on the road for the last 3 or 4 months, so it's a bit of an outlier, I would get up in the morning, fast, either take the kids to school or do it before, and then train in the morning. So train first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, and really simple. So I do the same most days. I'll go in the gym, I'll do lat raise, front raise, bicep curls on 15 kgs, 10 sets, 3 or 4 times through, sometimes 5 if I've got a little bit of time. So lat raise, front raise, biceps as a warm-up. I've got a heavy dumbbell at home of 50 kg, and I'll do like a straight leg deadlift with that just to get the back moving, get a little bit of weight through the arms. And then I'll vary on different days. I'll either go barbell for bench with 80 kgs, and I'll do sets of 10, 3 sets of 10, single arm row, 3 sets of 10, or 4 sets of 10, or whatever I'm doing. Or I'll do dumbbell bench with 50 kgs, and I'll do sets of 6, and then I'll put them down, and I'll do a barbell. So I'll switch between dumbbell and barbell on alternate days. And then I'll do goblet squats as well, depending on how the knee's feeling, depending on how the back's feeling. But I'll do sets of 10 with either a 30 kg dumbbell or a 45 kg dumbbell, ass to bench. So I'll do 5 sets of 10 with that. And then I'll do RDL, so just with the barbell, just for the hinge movement again. And then I'll do a bit of core. I've got some kettlebells as well, where I've started to do a bit more rotation, and a little bit of shoulder press as well, where I'm sat with a 25 kg kettlebell, and I'll do 3 sets of 10, 4 sets of 10 on that as well. But the shoulders are really dodgy, so I've got to be really careful with them. I've started to do a little bit of bar hanging as well to stretch the back out and the shoulders out. And then if I'm feeling good, I'll try and do 3 sets of 5 body weight chin-ups. I'll then might have a couple of other things that I add on if I'm doing farmer's carries or feeling strong and feeling good, a bit of heavy weights, just for 5 minutes, just moving them around the gym. And then I'll jump on the watt bike and do the session that I mentioned earlier, either 20-minute sprint, 30-minute sprint, or I'll do the 6 intervals, the 1K on, minute and a half off. And then I've got a sauna that I'll jump into. And if I've trained in the morning, I've got time, I'll jump in the sauna for 20 minutes, as hot as I can. If I've trained, it's harder than if I go in the evening, but I'll do 20 minutes as hot as I possibly can, and then I'll go in the ice bath for a minute, and then I feel $1 million. So that's the typical week's training. I'll do that 5 days a week. If I'm stressed with the kids or I've missed a day, I'll train at the weekend as well. But training is central to the Hamilton household. The wife trains, I train. We're trying to get our kids into it a little bit. Freya, one of the twins, loves it, so she's in the gym with a little kettlebell in there as well. And my lad is an athlete as well, so he doesn't do anywhere near as much as he needs to be doing, but like stretching, started to introduce a little bit of that. But yeah, I need to add more things onto the training week, broom_Ed, around a bit more relaxing stuff, a little bit more stretching, yoga-y, Pilates. I can't do any of that at the minute though, but I'm going to get into it. So maybe that's part of the 3, 6 month, 12-month training program that Paul Jones mentioned. D_Bussy, do you know much about your Chinese roots? Any interesting stories here? Well, it is interesting that I've had to justify my Chinese roots many a time on the podcast because of casual racism. So I think people think that I'm taking the mickey when I say that I'm a quarter Chinese. What part of you is Chinese? And I look down, goes down a storm when I go to Hong Kong. Speak a bit of Cantonese, ne hon ma sig fan as well, yucky sam. So I do a little bit of that. So I am a quarter Chinese, and that is 100%. There was a small lady living with us back in the day called Papaw, which is also Nan in Chinese. But I do know a little bit about my Chinese roots. But here's a couple of like interesting things, if I may. So I'm 6'9", quarter Chinese, quarter English, half Scottish. My mum's half Chinese, half English, and my dad's Scottish. So hence I'm a quarter. My sister is 6 foot. So she's the same as me. She's my full sister. So she is half Scottish, quarter English, quarter Chinese. My brother, or my half-brother, he is a quarter Chinese and the rest is English. So his dad's English and my mum's half Chinese, so he's a quarter. He's 6'6" and looks Chinese. So the height has all come from the maternal side. So my papa, my nan, who was 4'8" and looked like E.T., it has all come from that side. And I did hear, I don't know whether I made this up when I was blind in Hong Kong, that I had a great uncle that was in the NBA in New York who was a 7'1" giant, an outlier. But if you actually look at the Chinese gene and the Mongolian gene, which borders China and Russia, tallest man, Chinese, tallest NBA player, Yao Ming, who was in Hong Kong actually, I saw him, Chinese, tallest woman in the world, Mongolian. So there is a throwback gene, and people, if anyone knows Chinese history, if they want to come back and tell me that there's a place, a town, a city, a mountain just north of Shanghai where they breed massive human beings. So something along the way has brought me from that mountain just north of Shanghai. And yeah, it's crazy, isn't it, that I'm sat here a quarter Chinese, 6'9". My brother's a quarter Chinese. He's my half brother, looks Chinese and 6'6". But yeah, that's about as interesting as the story is. There's some more interesting ones, but I'll save that for the stand-up gigs that I'm doing. Jack James _. It's my lad's name, Jack James. So hopefully it's not him because he's not on social media. He says, what would you have done as a career if not rugby? Get asked that a lot. I don't need to think about it a lot because I did do rugby as a career, even though some might say it was an average career. The army, the military. So I grew up in a tough place in Coventry where there wasn't huge opportunity, and my dad was in the military. I grew up in the military, and a lot of my mates joined the army. They joined the Royal Marines, and a couple went into the Special Forces. I was really interested in the Special Forces because of the life I had growing up. I really enjoyed what looked like a sense of purpose and belonging, and I obviously found that in rugby. But I would have done that. I actually tried to join the army. I've told this story before. So I went to Aldershot when I was 17. I was in the Army Cadets. I was in the Air Cadets as well as a kid growing up. I was in the Army Cadets and doing really well and wanted to follow in the footsteps of my father and members of my family and my mates as well. So we all went to Aldershot for a training thing to join the army, did what they called it a barb test, which was the academic test to see what your level was of could you join the Royal Engineers or the electrical, the REME they called it, or the Royal Logistics or the RMP, which is the Royal Military Police, or you had no brains and you just joined the infantry and the parachute regiment. And I actually did all right on the exam, so I had the choice. And I was looking at the Royal Engineers to try and get a trade. But anyway, I failed the medical because my BMI didn't marry up. So the height-weight ratio made me morbidly obese. So if you typed in now into a simple system online, 6'9" and 120 kgs, I'd come in at morbidly obese. So they looked at the graph and I didn't even complete day one. So my mates who joined the same day or did the test the same day went on to do 10, 12 years in the Royal Logistics and the Royal Engineers. One of them went in the Marines, was in the Special Forces. I failed my medical on day one. And if it wasn't for rugby, I probably would have applied and tried to get in a different way. But it wasn't to be. But I'm a big fan of the military, and my mate Jason Fox has been on the show. I've got Aldo Kane lined up as well. So I'm a big fan of that, and huge respect to the people that have joined the forces and been on these crazy tours all over the world to defend Queen, King, country. Henza_B, which guests have inspired you the most, and who should we take lessons from, and who have you got on in the next few episodes? So which guests have inspired you the most? All of them. I think it's not a throwaway comment. I'm genuinely trying to think. I think people that can come up and contextualize how they feel. Keith Earls, for example, was phenomenal, and the feedback I got on him was incredible because he came on the show and he contextualized the past that he'd been through, the path he'd walked, the mental health aspects to his career as an athlete. I thought he was just wonderful. Jason Fox was brilliant, the most listened to episode, the most viewed on YouTube, up over 1 million views across social media. So there's a real interest in that military space. And I know he's done loads of other podcasts, but when I came away from that, I was inspired to, look more into the military, learn more. We had to edit a bit out of it actually as well because we were stumbling across where the world wars were started and stuff like that. I thought I should actually know that. I've got an interest in the military. So I was inspired by Jason Fox to learn more. Max Laheath, when he came on, the condition of the man and just how well read he was, I was inspired to actually read a few books. So we've been going back and forth on a few bits about that and the training and the Zerka squats. And I was back in. But Henzas B, I don't know who you should take lessons from. I think when doing the podcast, it's not about trying to educate people and say, you're not good enough, or this isn't good enough, or you need to do this. A lot of podcasts do that. A lot of ones on high performance, for example, I don't necessarily agree with because it's constantly you need to be better. You've got to do this. You've got to do that. I think trying to take lessons out of any of the episodes I do or anyone else does, naturally and organically, where you pick something and be I'm going to try that. I'm going to get a watt bike because Jim's on a watt bike and it's good for his mental health, or a sauna or an ice bath, or all of these other wank things that people do. But I think the lessons you should take is that there's some good human beings out there. That's when I come out of the studio, I'm wow, what a good dude or a good woman. I had Tara Swart, I had Lee McKenzie, who's in the Formula One media and the tennis media. She fronts all that for ITV and Channel 4. Just great people. And that's the lessons that I've learned from this, that there's some good people out and about. I'll come on to the guests that I've got lined up at the end of the show. Cameron Watson 9, Cameron.Watson 9 to be specific, if you want to follow him. Favourite country singer from the US? Well, there's a few. Chris Stapleton is the obvious one. People are loving him at the minute. I nearly went to see him in Glasgow, but I was away. I couldn't go and see him. But the biggest one that I'm into at the minute, and I'm talking to his people about getting him on the show, is Stephen Wilson Jr. So all our mates in the UK, or my mates, I've sent them clips. Tom Evans and Nicole Scherzinger are mad on this dude. I spent some time with Tom. He did a live show for us in Edinburgh. I said, look, before you go, Tom, I'm going to show you this guy singing Stand By Me, which was my wedding song that blew up on the show that he sang it on, called Live at the Print Shop, which I've been chatting to the guys there who had him on, a guy called Adam who hosted it. It was the most phenomenal interview I've seen with Stephen Wilson Jr. and he's just blown up in the US now, and he's coming to the UK. I'm going to see him in Glasgow, so talking to his people about getting him on the show. He's absolutely amazing. Boxer. His dad was a boxer and he was a young boxer coming through, really quiet kid. I've never seen or heard anyone play the guitar like it, and I'm a big John Mayer fan as well, and I'm watching Stephen Wilson Jr. play the guitar, and the energy and the authenticity and the rasp of how he sings, and his story as well. His father's son is the name of his album, and it's about him and his relationship with his dad and his dad dying, and there's loads of comparisons that people can make, especially for myself, whose dad wasn't there when I was growing up. So it wasn't a case of my dad dying like his, but you see all the interactions and people's stories of listening to his album, and just the importance of role models and the importance and the need of a father or a male figure in one's life. And Stephen Wilson's story talks about it throughout all of his songs, and it's absolutely phenomenal. Stephen Wilson Jr., you should download the album Father's Son or Son of Dad. Father's Son's the song, sorry. Son of Dad is the album. Father's Son is the best song on there apart from Stand By Me. But yeah, brilliant album. And if I've got him on the show, you know that I've succeeded. Alan M. Jardine. Where do I hope to be at 80? Alive. Yeah. So that is 38 years away. Where do I hope to be at 80? Great question. And I don't really think about it that much, but you've asked the question, so I'm going to try and answer it. I hope to be swinging on a porch somewhere hot with a coffee or a whiskey in hand, having had a great life. I hope that the body is in decent shape, and there's going to be a lot of intervention needed to keep it that way to get to 80. I hope the mind is in great shape as well. There's always a worry there, having played the sport and the history that I've got in my family, but I'm doing everything I can to get there. I hope to be a grandfather, not a great grandfather. I want them to have kids late. Just want to be happy and have a well-lived life. And part of this job that I'm in now and transition out of rugby is trying to stay present and trying to enjoy the moments. And I think over the last 2 years I've managed to really find that. So it's a long way to go to get to 80. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs along the way. That's natural. And I do wonder whether I'm ready for the downs. You know, that's something that I do think about a lot. That's the negativity in me, you know. But yeah, it could be a deeper question than maybe I've answered. But where do I hope to be at 80? I hope to be alive, I hope to be happy, and I hope to be healthy. Roddy Mack, what are you doing a collab with The Rest is Politics, lads? The number one podcast in the UK is The Rest is Politics, and I've reached out to Alistair Campbell, who is a rugby fan, and we record in the same studio at Spotify, and I'm keen to get him on. I go back and forth on politics, Roddy Mack, because it's so divisive, right? And genuinely, I don't really care. I feel it is important to know and be educated and pass opinion and vote and all of these things and have an understanding. But it is so divisive, and there's so much bullshit around politics that there's a part of me that wants to know and try and get to the bottom of like layman's terms of like, why is this happening, or why has this not happened, or why did we do Brexit, or, you know, why is there so much divisiveness around immigration, or why are we getting taxed more as a middle class? I want to learn more, but I think once you open that up and start going down that route, you start dividing opinion, and people fall off the wagon. But The Rest is Politics, lads. Maybe they might be the best way forward. So Rory Stewart, spoke to him at the airport once. He's clearly Scottish blood, and Alistair Campbell was a rugby fan, so I'm sure in the future we can make that happen. Anto Breen, B-R-E-I-N-N, Anto Breen, or Breen. Do you follow any football clubs? I loved football when I was growing up. Football was my number one sport. Grew up in Coventry, Highfield Road, lived on Highfield Road. I used to watch all the games through the gates of the stadium. No longer there, Highfield Road. They knocked it down to make houses. Of course they did. They've got the Ricoh Arena now. But yeah, like football back in the 90s. Cov City were good. Leeds with Tony Yeboah. I was actually thinking about this. There was a chance with Steve McManaman, the great Liverpool Real Madrid legend in Hong Kong. And we were talking about the old sticker books. He went back further than me. He was going back 70s and 80s. I was like, man, I remember in the 90s, Like, I'd always get the Sheffield Wednesday shiny, and I'd get Uwe Rosler was like the guy that I used to get all the time. But then we were talking about like nostalgic names of like ones that stick out from the sticker book, like Mark Bosnich in goal for Aston Villa, and Dwight York, and I mentioned Tony Ueboa and Gary Mabbott for Tottenham. And I was a Man United fan, so naturally when it was like Paul Parker and Dennis Irwin and Gary Pallister and Roy Keane, and I was going to say David May. I don't know why I was going to say David May, but the likes of Roy Keane, but Eric Cantona and these guys, and Andy Cole. So I'm a Man United fan. I don't follow football as much now. I think that the romance and the heart's been taken out of it with not how commercial it's gone. And I don't mean to say with how many foreigners have come into the game, but it's just, I loved football when football was football and it had a heartbeat, and there was like Vinnie Jones and Gaza, like these guys, do you know what I mean? Duncan Ferguson, I'm trying to think of players just off the bat. Ian Walker from Leicester in goal with his bowl head, his curtains. My mate lived next door, my mate Blackie was next door, we used to party with him. But I loved football back then. I'm going to get into a bit of Scottish football, actually, because anyone you speak to about football is like, you want football? Scottish football. Real man's football. 0-0, 1-0 games. But yeah, Man United fan. I'm a fan of the new stadium that's going up. I think they need to innovate now. That's the direction that these super clubs are going to. Man United deserve to be in that echelons of it. But I follow Cov City. Frank Lampard doing a good job. I would have preferred Ruud van Nistelrooy to be the Cov City manager. He's gone to Leicester, he's struggling, but yeah. Do I follow any football clubs? Cov City, loosely online, Man United, because they're my team of old, but yeah, I basically follow Eric Cantona wherever he goes. He did a gig up in Glasgow where he walked off stage, which weren't great, but it was hilarious. But I follow Eric Cantona. Stephen_2345, what kind of parent are you? Wowzers. Well, I tell you what, with 4 kids travelling to America will test your resolve as a parent, young Stephen. I presume you're young. You might be old. You might be looking for advice. You might be my age. What kind of a parent are you? I'm strict, which I'm not as a human being. For anyone that knows me, anyone that listens to me, maybe wouldn't think that, but I'm a strict parent. I've got 4 very outgoing kids, very outspoken, very charismatic, very confident, very cheeky. And I tried the good guy parenting. I tried the big Jim parenting and wanting to be their friend and enjoy being fun dad, but it didn't work, unfortunately. So we are in the mould now with a 14-year-old, an 11-year-old girl who's going on 18, and the twins that are 7 that are like Beavis and Butthead, causing absolute chaos, that I'm taking a more strict approach, and it's working. It's not the way that I'd want to do it, naturally want to do it, but it's my responsibility, I feel, as the man of the house and the dad. You talk about being a role model, like all of these things. So my daughter doesn't have a phone. She's 11. My lad's very rarely on his phone now. We're strict on food, on bedtimes, on behaviour, on manners, like all of these things. But I don't think strict's bad. I think deep-rooted in me, I'll be proper old school. But you can't be proper old school these days, so you need to find that happy medium. And my missus is really chilled, and sometimes you can clash. She's too chilled. I'm too strict, even though I don't want to be strict. But parenting, the hardest job on the planet, but the most important job. There's 1 or there's 2 people that are responsible for how your kids are brought up, and that's mum and dad. Yes, school and role models and coaches and all these, but central to everything around how your kids conduct themselves comes from the family home. That is what we're on to now. And having been away for 3 or 4 months on the road, yes, I've been back and forth, but I've realised the importance of being present, of being there for them, and being a decent role model and actually showing them the direction. And part of that isn't spoiling them and giving everything that they want and giving them loads of time. It's actually about being a parent and fronting up in that space and learning and evolving, because you're not the same parent. I'm not the same parent I was for 1 kid that I am now for 4 kids, because you got 4 kids and life's very different now because I'm no longer an athlete. So, right, Stephen, thank you for that. I'm a strict parent. I don't know if I'm a good parent. Who knows? Only time will tell. So we'll revisit this in 10 years and we can see. Last question that's come through off a few people, and they've asked what guests have we got lined up coming on the show. So I've got some great guests coming up on the show. So on Friday here, while I'm in Austin, Texas, I've got a fly fisherman, a Yeti ambassador, Alvin Dudour. He's a French surname, so probably need to nail down his surname. Dedeaux. Dudour. You'll say that, Alvin Dudour. Sounds better, but he's a fly fisherman, so we've got him on Friday. That episode hopefully will be out Monday. If it's not, then the editor's not had time to edit it and it's come out later in the week. We've also got a really good one as well lined up in Aldo Kane. So when I get back from the US, ex-Special Forces, Aldo Kane's going to be on the show. A really cool one as well. I've been chatting to Nico Carrillo, who is a world champion from the One Championship. Scottish lad, lives in Glasgow. Kickboxer, absolutely phenomenal athlete. And I've been following him for a while and we're going to connect. He doesn't want to come to London, so we're going to have to do it in the east side of Glasgow. But Nico's confirmed. Jay Dobbins is confirmed. He's an ex-FBI who went undercover with the Hells Angels. Actually read his book, No Angel, years and years and years ago. And then something popped up on my algorithm that Jay had been on. And then we followed each other and we've stayed connected. And I'm going to do an episode with him, which will be great. I'd love to do it in person. He lives in Arizona. I can't justify heading over to Arizona for the day, so it might need to be a remote one. Michael Scott Moore is confirmed. Michael Scott Moore is an author of a few great books. He's got a ridiculous story. He was on the Joe Rogan show 6 years ago. He was doing a story in Somalia on pirates and then ended up being captured by real-life Somalian pirates. And on the Joe Rogan show, he talks about how it was spending 3 years in captivity and he had millions of pound ransom on his head sent back to his family. He ended up escaping. I don't want to ruin it all. I don't want to tell his story. I want him to tell the story. But Michael Scott Moore is confirmed. Martin Ford, who is the 6'10" actor who's been doing one of these gladiator Roman shows on Prime Video. He was meant to come on before we came to the US, but the premiere got moved in the States, so he couldn't do it. But he's coming in the studio in May. And then Ali McCoist. Ali McCoist is meant to come on 4 times, and we've just not made it happen. But we've said that we're definitely going to get Ali McCoist on. But he'll be a great guest. But like I said at the beginning of the show, when we're talking about dream guests, I've brought on a producer now. We're just formalising everything around that, and we're going to be moving into the space which I've always wanted to move in. It's been a soft launch over the last couple of years, but music, culture, and the guest that I've just mentioned is a kind of snapshot of the direction that the show's going in. So I said at the beginning of the show, I appreciate every one of you. If you've got this far, then you really do like the show and you really do like me. So thank you very much. And if you haven't, can you please follow the show on whatever podcast channel you are listening on? It's a follow or a subscribe or a like, and you can write a review, write a comment. It boosts the algorithm of the show. It means I can do more. It means that I know that I'm doing things right because the fans dictate the direction of the show. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. You can comment, you can interact. I should go on there and maybe interact with all of you, and I will do. I think I will do. But Spotify now, you're watching it on video. There's a comment section below. There's some great comments in the other episodes that I have done, and I've read them and I've interacted with a few of them, but you can now do that. It's a great mechanism that Spotify have got. Thank you very much, and hopefully you've enjoyed this episode. The ones that we've done before, if you haven't, go back and listen to a few, and then the up-and-coming ones that we've got. Big love from Austin, Texas.